Hey, welcome World Entertainment and our review for episode 6 of Monarch Legacy of Monsters. And last week I said it was going to be interesting when we get Kate coming face to face with Godzilla, because you know that's going to happen. Well, we didn't have to wait long, because this episode she comes face to face with Godzilla. So the episode opens, of course this will be as non-spoilery as possible. There's not too much to give away, so just keep that in mind. But it opens in 1955 at a military ball, a summer ball, which is basically Shaw's chance with Keiko to get investment from other military branches and stuff to fund Monarch. And you find out that they have a little bit of a thing for each other. Keiko and Shaw. Back in normal time, Shaw is getting transported by Monarch. He's in a hood, but the van gets pulled over and it's Duval who comes into the van. She's speaking French and she says, I hear you speak French. Like, she's saying it in French. It's subtitles saying, I hear you can speak French. If that's true, clear your throat. So he does, and she says, count to 6 and then drop. And you hear a bit of a commotion, and she pulls the hood off and she's knocked all the people out. And she seems to have switched sides. She no longer wants to take orders from Monarch. Or is she? Is she actually still playing them? Because we know that they may let them go to track them. So is she now going to do this with Shaw? Or is she genuinely switching sides? It's not 100% sure, because don't forget she gave the card to May. And May sold them all out by contacting Duval. But she takes him, and they go and get the other three, Kate, Kentaro and May. And we're going back and forth this episode between 1955 and 2015. And what we're figuring out in 1955 is that they think they can predict when the Titans are going to show up. So Keiko and Bill Randa are going to go to Japan to meet a scientist there who's devised a contraption to basically summons the Titans. It's not what you think. It's not like the frequency transmitter thing from King of Monsters. It's nothing like that. We'll come to what it is. Shaw doesn't want them to go alone because he's now having feelings for Keiko. She has feelings for him. This is before her and Bill obviously ended up together. But they need him to stay there to try and get funding. And he ends up going to the General Puckett, to basically say, look, they're going to need me out there. And the General's like, you got to let other people do it. If you want to be a great leader, you got to make decisions and blah, blah, blah. And basically, you can't go out there to Japan. What they have in Japan is they meet a scientist who's called Dr. Shizuki, I believe his name is. And he's developed a gamma ray simulator. It's this big ball thing. And he's a bit nuts. He's a bit eccentric, but he's a good character actually for the scenes we get with him. And Bill's kind of even having a conversation with him, saying, because they put it out in the water, turn it on, and Bill's detector yoke is, he turns around and says, the readings on this is flatter than hammered shit. And Suzuki, or whatever his name is, says to him, my father once said it's called fishing, or there's a reason it's called fishing and not catch it. Because it's the case of it's not going to happen right away. Back in 2015, when we know they got the map from Kate and Kentaro's father's office in San Francisco. Tim and and Verdugo are in the office, and Tim makes the point to say, he's got $1 million view, but he's got his back to it. Why? It's so he can stare at whatever was on the wall. And he notices the pinholes in the wall. Like, he picks up the little flags, but he notices the pinholes, and he's like, when he's kind of running his fingers over, he realizes there's a pattern. And he realizes then, and he makes it out that it was clearly a map, and these points are points of Titans, because he noticed Hawaii, then San Francisco, But then from San Francisco, it went up to Alaska and stuff. So there's only 3 possible locations that they've gone. One was in Southeast Asia, one was somewhere around Vietnam or somewhere, and the other one was Africa. So we're then in Africa, Algeria, I think it was, somewhere in that thing. And they're basically, they meet up with a couple of people that seem to be originally from Monarch, and Kate's not happy about this. But Shaw's trying to convince him, look, I could have taken the map off you anytime I wanted. I didn't. You know, yous are going to lead the way, all this stuff. But we need help. And these guys aren't with Monarch anymore. They don't like how Monarch is being run. They want things to change. And Duval kind of walks past May and gives her a look. And while they go travelling, and while they're travelling, actually this could have been just before they make it to the camp. But May says to Duval, like, you know, when do I get to go home? I kept my end of the deal. When do we get to go home? And she goes, as soon as I'm going, you'll be going. And she says, I keep my word. So you're still not sure whether Duval is actually with them or just playing them. They get to the coordinates, or what should be the coordinates, and there doesn't seem to be anything there. And Shaw says, like, it has to be just over that ridge. And they go over the ridge and there's still nothing there, but Kentaro notices something off in the distance, and it's their father. He's there, and they're starting to whistle at him and wave and call him. But Shaw kind of looks again and realizes he's not waving back, he's actually waving them off. And then Shaw notices he has as well one of those gamma ray simulators on the back of a Jeep. And Shaw's like, he's waving us off. We got to get the hell out of here. Because he recognizes this device, because we then go back to 1955 and he showed up in Japan. He's not meant to be there, but he showed up. And him and Keiko are sitting on a little dock talking about, you know, he's basically came there for her and stuff. And she's like, look, we can't do it. We can't be trusted, that we wouldn't let Monarch things get in the way and stuff. And she notices the sound out of the gamma ray thing has stopped. And they stand up and they look, and Shaw's like, where the hell is it? You know, it's gone. And all of a sudden, poop, up it comes out of the water, gets fucking launched at them. They just get out of the way and turn around, and you see the fins coming out of the water, and Godzilla is there. Godzilla comes out, you hear his roar, and he's turning. Bill and the doctor fella, Shinzuki, I think it's Shinzuki, it's something, it sounds like Suzuki, it could even be Suzuki, I think it's Shinzuki though. He gets to see it, and it's the first time he's seen a Titan. Like when Keiko told him earlier, like, he turns around and said, like, you actually seen a Titan before? And she's like, yeah. And they're terrifying. And he's like, good, miracles should be terrifying. So he's super pumped to see Godzilla, and it's Godzilla you're seeing. Great shot of him as well in the water. Which then we go back to 2015. They're about to run, and a chopper comes over the ridge, and it's Monarch with Tim in it, and he's like, there they all are, take us down. But the whole ground starts shaking. The hill they're standing on isn't the hill at all. Well, it is, but it's actually Godzilla. Godzilla's in the hill, and he wakes up. The whole hill collapses. They almost get crushed by fallen rocks and the fallen cars that they had. And Godzilla is there, and this is where Kate comes face to face, because they're like right next to him, and he opens his eye and he looks directly at Kate. And then he stands up, and the chopper tries to get out of the way, but his fin, the rotor blade, hits the fin of Godzilla and goes down. And he gets up and he roars. Again, he looks fantastic. And he just walks off. That's an interesting shot. You just see him walk, and his tail comes whipping around and hits the bit of a hill or mountain behind him from his sheer size. And he walks off, and they're all like stunned to see him. And Kate's like, did you see that? He looked right at me. And Shaw's like, he did, yeah. And it's basically then that Shaw now wants to follow Godzilla, and they think he wants to stop Godzilla, and he says, no, I want to try and help him. So he's gonna go off with Duval to try and track Godzilla. Kate doesn't want anything to do with this. She just wants to continue to find her father, because he drove off. And I think he drove off with the thing to try and lure, like, get the gamma ray detector away from Kate and Kentaro and the rest of them. But they go to, she's like, I just want to find my father. May says, I just want to go home. And Kentaro's like, I'm just going with them. So Shaw takes the map and he leaves them. Him and Duval go off after Godzilla, and he's like, I'm going to leave you some water and food, but you won't really need it because civilization is 10 clicks over in that direction. So him and Duval are tracking Godzilla. The rest of them are walking. They're having a bit of a talk, and they're like, it's great that Dad's alive. It's fantastic. Where do you think he is? Do you think he was really waving us off and stuff? And then May comes right out and says, look, I sold us out. I'm the one who sold us out. That's why Monarch was able to find us and track us. And Kate obviously is not happy, tells her to go to hell, as is Kentaro. And it ends with them walking off. But the reason she sold her out, when she says she wants to go home, she doesn't mean she wants to go to Japan. She did something to people in the States that she fled from, changed her name, all that stuff, fled to Japan. Monarch found all of that out and basically told her, if you help us out, we can give you your life back. So that's why she sold her out. Or sold all of them out, I should say, not just her. And apparently she's a crap ton of money. It sounds like maybe she took money from people. It's not 100% sure. But again, still not 100% clear whether Duval was playing them or not, or whether she's actually now on Shaw's side. So that is the episode in a nutshell. Much better than not last week's, the week before. And yes, it moved the story much further along this week as well compared to last week's. Great shots of Godzilla. The one of him coming up out of the mountain and the one of him in the water. There's two shots of him, one from 1955, which, by the way, I forgot to say, they realise, of course, then once they see Godzilla, it's like, Shaw's instantly like, oh shit, like, we didn't kill it. And when they went back to the States, they were going to tell, he wanted to tell Puckett, General Puckett, that we didn't kill it. But Kanko's against that because she's like, but if we tell them, what are they going to do? They're just going to try and build a bigger bomb to kill it. And if that doesn't work, they'll build an even bigger one. And if it still doesn't work, they might change their target. Which sounds like she's kind of hinting, Hiroshima and stuff like that. But when they walk into the office, because he's like, well, we have to give them something because I wasn't supposed to be there. You guys aren't giving them any information. We have to give something to them to get us out of the doghouse. And they agree, but they walk in and Puckett's not there. It's this other fella from the Navy who's taken over. And it's basically he took over because Shaw went to Japan. On top of that, there was one other thing I forgot to mention. Duval seems to have mentioned that she lost her sister, and she mentions a name in Japan. And immediately, because she's French, I'm thinking, and I'm not sure about this, but I think they're linking it that her sister may have been Bryan Cranston's character's wife in Godzilla 2014. The one who gets killed in the power plant. I have a feeling that that's meant to be her sister. It seems that way because when she says she lost her sister, she doesn't say her sister's name, or does she? Maybe she did. But she says in Japan and then gives the location in Japan, and I think that location is the power plant. So I think she is the sister of the character from Godzilla 2014. So more connections to that stuff, which is interesting. But there you go. That's the review for episode 6 of Monarch. Again, Kurt Russell and Roy Russell, standouts, great. May, couldn't care less about, worst character in the show and the worst thing off the show. The other two were fine. And two great shots of Godzilla in this as well. So with that, I'll leave it there for this one. So cheers. I'll catch you in the next one.